Hey guys, good morning. It's Friday. Thank goodness. Welcome to the huddle. What are you guys doing to prepare for the snowstorm? I mean, Sean's already ready, I guess.
Yeah, I
My
can't say
to-do list today
I
is
don't
get
get any
ready for
credit
this
for that, though.
snowstorm.
That was mostly done by others in this household. I did get the shovels, they're ready. I'll get the sleds, but I didn't do any of the prepper stuff.
Dan,
My plan is
where
to get
do
home.
kids go if they want to go sledding in New York?
Well,
City?
we happen to live on the Upper East Side of New York City, very close to Central Park. So they will go into Central Park. There are lots of hills there. And actually, the Central Park Conservancy does a great thing. They take a lot of the fencing down that kind of along the walkways so that kids can slide straight down hills over the walkways. And they tend to put hay around some of the light poles. So it's awesome. They kind of set it up for kids. So
Nice.
It'll be a fun time.
One other fun thing before we jump in. This was a little bit of color here this morning in Punch Bowl news. Transportation Secretary Sean Duffy is pushing to host an IndyCar race, guys, on the National Mall in August. Apparently, some Democrats are reluctant to approve this. Does it happen or not? Yes or no?
I don't even know. I'm just trying to think of logistically how you do those turns.
Here, I'll tell you. So it starts at the Supreme Court. Starts at the Supreme Court. Cover a full lap around the National Mall, including the Lincoln Memorial. Pit row would be the Lincoln Memorial reflecting pool.
It's kind of like they do that in Vegas right now with the.
Oh, everywhere. They're doing it in Miami, Austin. I mean, I don't know. It would probably raise tax revenue for the city, but I don't know.
Listen, I'm a curmudgeon at this point. Like, I don't want anything that's going to make traffic.
Yeah. By the way, I will also say NASCAR is more like the people's, race car sport. Formula One, a little less so. It's a little more highbrow these days. So it's an interesting look.
Well, we're going to have like a boxing match at the White House at some point, right?
UFC.
UFC, yeah.
Okay, boxing.
Yeah. No.
You know me.
UFC.
I don't know the difference. But anyway, hand in glove there. Lots of big.
I will say this. This whole Freedom 250 thing, I actually kind of am excited. I mean, I think that this is going to be a really cool historic thing. It's weird. You think about this. No one's ever going to live through anything like this in terms of you can have a 300
make the 300. I'd be
300 doesn't. There's something about 250s, 500s that are kind of ring better than 300 or 275s. I mean, I'm just saying.
Going to be a lot of great parties.
There'll be a lot of great swag, which is all I care about. Like there'll be memorabilia that I'll stuff in my basement and won't ever see again.
Quick housekeeping note, reminder for all you premium subscription folks. We're going to have a discussion again after the show today. Make sure you look for the link so you can come in and talk to us, get to know us a little more. We did this last week. Great.
I'm
great
doing recipes and snow prep tips.
Yeah, Sean snow prep tips.
Yeah, Sean will be carrying the torch today. Yep.
Okay. And then otherwise, if you haven't done it already, please go to our YouTube page. Again, I'm a broken record here, guys. Please go to our YouTube page at the DC Huddle and subscribe. As Sean says, it's free. It helps us build our numbers, helps us, get into the algorithm and get in front of other people. We want to grow the show, catch more eyes. So please do us a favor and go subscribe right now.
Yeah, there's a big rumor about potential tariffs coming our way. So get in front of the tariffs, subscribe now before any potential tariffs hit the show.
Yeah, there you go. Today's 5, we're going to talk about the vice president in him being this sort of PR problem solver heading to Minnesota. Immigration, is it a liability or an asset for the president? The fact that we're having this discussion and even asking this question is just nuts in my view. Shutdown 2.0, averted. Sounds like it's not going to happen. At least as long as the Senate can make it back.
Wait till we get there
to vote. The point being, there's no huge, policy disagreement or huge roadblock that they need to overcome at this point. 2028 workhorses versus show horses, Dan's favorite topic. Some new fodder for that discussion. And then we'll do our favorite Friday segment, winners and losers. For the day book, today is the annual March for Life. It's obviously a big moment for the pro-life movement. You're going to have Speaker Mike Johnson talking. I think is the Vice President also.
JD Vance.
I read that.
The
It's not
president addressed it last year, the Vice President this year.
Yeah. So that'll be a big thing. And I feel like I also read that the White House has rolled out some sort of policies that the pro-life movement likes. This would be coming after they suggested the Hyde, amendment, that there should be some sort of flexibility with Republicans on that. Obviously a big backlash on the White House for suggesting that. And they definitely have walked it back since then. But do we know much about what they're rolling out today for the pro-life movement, Sean?
I'm not. I've not been in the loop on that. So I'll.
They tend to not necessarily broadcast that till kind of slightly before, right? Like there's a benefit to them for doing it, and there's a liability for them anytime they're talking abortion. So they tend to be judicious how they do it.
And let's remember that just a few weeks ago that they got upset with Josh Hawley when he suggested he was going to make, pro-life pushes, like a pro-life push, part of, a new super PAC. And when it comes to like 2026 midterm messaging, I can't remember exactly what the story was, but people were like, what is he doing?
That is a 2028 putting JD Vance in a box is exactly what he was doing.
Okay. Otherwise, the president is back in town. He's got a pretty busy afternoon. At 1:30, he's doing an interview. At 3, he's signing bills. 4:30, he's meeting with the commissioner of the U.S. Social Security Administration. And then at 5:30, he has policy time. So
let's be honest, that's a 5:30 press conference to try to control the end of the news cycle and get us all, talking about whatever he wants going into the weekend.
Could be. But very well could be.
Why does he just say, ask, like, make it like ask me anything, Oval Office? Like,
oh. Actually, that would be pretty cool. Maybe we just gave an idea. I like that. And AMA
questions.
Yeah. And they take them by Zoom. Yeah, I like this.
It's people do it on Instagram and stuff. Ask me anything.
Yeah. So real quick, maybe you should do a couple get ready with me's, outfit of the day. I like that. Yeah. Here I am with my blue suit, red tie. Right. So the other thing is I don't want to go down a rabbit hole on this, but just you pocket so many things. The guy did the college football national championships, gets home at 2, gives a 94-minute press conference, gets on a flight to Davos. The flight gets backed up by an hour and a half. He lands, he does a speech, a CEO conference, another presser, multiple bilats on everything from Ukraine to Gaza. Tariffs, Greenland, and then gets back on a plane and then has that day. And everyone's like, I think he's getting old. I'm like, I can't keep half of that schedule. Like, I need a nap after the show.
He's starting at 1:30. I mean, he's not exactly.
Oh my God.
What time did they land?
But I will say this, to Sean's point, the New York Times poll that we're going to talk about here in a minute did ask that question. Is Trump too old to, do the job? And I was 54% said no. So to Sean's point, the public strongly believes that age is not a factor for Donald Trump, which is good for him.
Yeah,
it's not.
Definitely. Okay, let's do a quick word from our sponsors, and then we'll jump right in. I'll start. Do you guys ever wake up randomly in the middle of the night and not be able to go back to sleep for the life of you? I will say I did it again for the second time this week. Last night, we perhaps were getting dinner and maybe having a little bit of wine, and wine sometimes wakes you up in the middle of the night. I digress. That would not happen to me if I was looking at an easy solution, which is CBD from CB Distillery. 90% of CBD customers say they sleep better with CBD, and people are raving about it. Clearly, I need to order and try this. So I'm going to get on that actually this weekend because I'll have a little bit of time. And CBD, CB Distillery, they have options for other things, not just sleep. You can do and buy things for stress relief, also mood and pain after workouts. You can shop by the benefit that you want, so it's easy to find what you're looking for. And of course, we should say that product availability depends on your individual state regulations. Everything they sell is premium quality, third-party tested, and free of artificial dyes and fillers. And they have 2 million happy customers who are probably sleeping pretty well. And then lastly, they have a 100% money back guarantee. So if you're ready to sleep well and sleep through the night, you should go to cbdistillery.com and use my code HUDDLE for 25% off. That's cbdistillery.com, code HUDDLE.
But the great thing is once you feel relaxed and you're ready to go to sleep, you've all lathered up in CBD, you put yourself into some nice cozy earth pajamas, and man, are you going to sleep well. I'm telling you, you put that eye mask on, the breathable pajamas, and then you do what I do. You get up, you put the joggers right on. I mean, it's cozy earth all around. I've got the joggers on. I actually have the t-shirt on. It is amazing. So I'm telling you, if you want to have not just a great night's sleep, but a great day, be like Dan, cozy up in the middle of the day with a bubble blanket. Wash off with the towels. They're unbelievably luxurious. I mean, I'm telling you, you can fit yourself out with from head to toe, morning to night with Cozy Earth. And if you use code HUDDLE, you get 20% off. I mean, so do not.
Well, you remember when George W. Bush traveled with his pillows? You know, I'm here in a hotel room in Washington, D.C. And maybe I have to start traveling with my Cozy Earth.
I would. Hands down. First of all, I mean,
just put it under the arm, carry it through the airport.
Yeah.
I mean, you know,
we'll do travel tips we'll do some travel tips on the post show too. Cause I get your point, but I travel with my Cozy Earth. And frankly, the joggers, I'd wear them on the plane. I'd get off, I'd put them on again, there's nothing it doesn't work for, and a great gift. So not just for yourself. If you're thinking of that, I can't think of what to get for so-and-so. CozyEarth.com, use code HUDDLE.
All right, let me ask you guys.
Day coming up.
Speaking of travel, do you guys wear sweatpants on the airplane? Like, do you guys go super cash when you travel, or a little more?
No, no sweatpants.
I'm a yoga pants type girl. Yes, for traveling on planes. One time I wore high heels and it was a disaster. I had blisters.
Sean, not sweatpants.
Yeah, I do jeans, but I do think it's not even. I know Sean Duffy was out there talking about trying to look less like a ragamuffin, but I'm the ragamuffin. I don't think that sweatpants, like, unless you're like on a Saturday morning going to grab a cup of coffee somewhere or going to a kid's game, like to me, maybe it's just how I was raised, but you don't wear sweatpants like unless you're like going to a game to play.
You distinguish between your yoga pants, Sean. That's the real question, because those can be.
I don't even know that I have.
I'm kidding.
I don't do. Yeah, that would create I do have golf shirts and don't play golf, but I don't have yoga and that's.
All right, guys, let's jump in. So DC has a new crisis comm strategist, and that is Vice President J.D. Vance. He was dispatched to Minnesota by the administration just yesterday to defuse this situation. He asked local law enforcement to help ICE. He suggested the president likely wouldn't invoke the Insurrection Act. He appeared to admit that sometimes ICE agents can get things wrong, and if they do something wrong, then there could be consequences. It was a much different and softer tone. Again, even more so than last time when he talked to reporters in the briefing room just a few days ago, and he's clearly part of this tonal shift. But let's look at what he's up against. Pull up element 1. Okay, so if you haven't seen it, this is a photo of a 5-year-old boy. He's got his his Blue's Clues hat on, his Spider-Man backpack. Looks like that. I don't know if that's one of the ICE agents that ended up taking him, but this has gone viral. And the headlines under this has been 5-year-old detained by ICE officials. Obviously, there is a backstory to this, which Vance sort of laid out for people. And I think he did pretty well in sort of articulating the backstory and how this is more complicated than everybody thinks. But this picture pulls at people's heartstrings when they think about, ICE in Minnesota and a little boy right there who's caught in the middle of it. Let's pull up element number 2. Before we started, though, the vice president was asked about this news about this boy who was taken and whether he was proud of what the administration has done in Minnesota.
I'm proud of the fact that we're standing behind law enforcement, and I'm proud of the fact that we're enforcing the country's laws. But, you asked a question about this 5-year-old kid. I actually saw this terrible story while I was coming to Minneapolis. We just left Toledo, Ohio this morning for an economic messaging event. And I see this story, and I'm a father of a 5-year-old, actually, a 5-year-old little boy. And I think to myself, oh my God, this is terrible. How did we arrest a 5-year-old? Well, I do a little bit more follow-up research. And what I find is that the 5-year-old was not arrested, that his dad was an illegal alien. And then when they went to arrest his illegal alien father, the father ran. So the story is that ICE detained a 5-year-old. Well, what are they supposed to do? Are they supposed to let a 5-year-old child freeze to death? Now, you know, there are so many of these cases like that where if you just understand the context, there have been a number of situations that I've looked into personally where I say, wait a second, we don't want ICE arresting American citizens. They're supposed to be enforcing the immigration laws against illegal aliens. So then I look into it and I find out that the American citizen who was arrested took a swing at an ICE officer. You can't have that happen. And of course they have to defend themselves.
Yeah, it feels like Vance right now, you know, if he's going to be the sort of crisis comms guy for the admin on this, like this is perhaps the hardest job in politics right now. I mean, whether you agree with voters or not, the polls show that Americans are turning against ICE. They think they're being too aggressive. And again, now you have pictures like there, right there with the little boy, even though there's a backstory. Dan, do you think his speech was effective?
It's as effective as it can be, which is to say that he is the best messenger. He stayed calm. He doesn't, you know, use kind of really hot language often. And he speaks to you like kind of like your neighbor would speak if they were, you know, defending this. And so I think he is the best messenger that they have, you know, compared to Stephen Miller or Donald Trump or Tom Homan or others who are just kind of front foot, full throttle at all times. The flip side to it is he is trying to put lipstick on the proverbial pig here because, you know, he said several things yesterday. We talked yesterday about on our show about the warrants, about the administrative warrant versus a judge warrant. And he kind of said, well, look, if this goes to the court and it's ruled that we can't do this, we'll just basically stop doing this. He's saying that that little boy's dad was an illegal and the guy tried to run. Okay, one of the big issues is kind of the neighbor who's being arrested, right? The everyday person in your community, once you get past the bad hombres here, who are starting to get swept up. And that is what Americans have problems with, because that kid looks like everyone else's kid going to school. And I think when you have images, we keep saying this, the images of the woman being shot, the images of people's heads being slammed to the ground, in some instances, who are American citizens. And this, people start to say, this is too much. So,
I mean, kudos to the vice president, though, for taking those questions head on, not getting angry about them and just addressing them and saying, look, there's another part of the story. Frank Luntz, who's obviously a famous GOP political operative, was tweeting that Vance has the potential to be the administration's most effective spokesperson due to how willing he is to answer questions from the media. No sloganeering, no memorized, unburdened sound bites, just direct answers to tough questions. Sean, what was your take on this?
Yeah, a few things. First of all, I think one of the things that's not fully noticed or appreciated is that when the vice president goes to events like that, he makes that part of his stop. He will take questions from reporters for a good chunk of time. And so I know the president has his own style of doing that and gets a lot of discussion about his accessibility, but the vice president is almost equally accessible. He just does it in a more formal setting where he has an event and then he'll say, okay, press, while everyone's here, you get to ask the questions. And I don't think he gets enough credit for it. The administration gets enough credit for it in terms of accessibility and transparency. I will go back, though, because I can't resist on the media front. Let's go back to what the question that he was asked was by a reporter. Are you ashamed of how ICE is conducting these operations? Like that it's... I mean, I look at this, I give him even more credit because the Irish in me would have lost it and said, like, get out.
Wait, I thought it was, are you proud of? Like, it wasn't,
the quote that I have, and again, I'm just reading what I have.
You have it right there in front of you? Okay.
Yeah, it says, are you ashamed of how ICE is conducting these operations? And that's not I mean, to me, that's fine. You have a right to ask that, but don't pretend you're a reporter. And don't.
This is like what happened in the briefing room the other day when Caroline Levitt went off on that reporter
who said, I think it's da 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 da. And it's like, okay, that's fine. Again, you have a right. I just want to be clear on this. Everyone has a right. You can ask whatever the heck you want. I've never said I'm not a reporter. I'm not a journalist. I'm in the media, but I'm not trying to pretend it. I'm very honest about my support for conservative causes, this president, etc. But like, don't conflate somebody who is an opinion person or a pundit with a reporter. And that's what happened here. Secondly, I think one of I like the way that he phrased this. You're absolutely right. He articulated it well. Tom Homan's got a great analogy, and he'll say, if an American citizen right now is driving down the street on any given night or day, and a cop pulls them over and suspects that they've been drinking, gives them a test, and they fail it, what do you? And there's a kid in the back. What do you think happens? Do you think that they take that kid to jail? I mean, like, this happens every day in America, where an adult gets arrested or detained, and then our law enforcement has to deal with the child. Like, I just. Again, this is such a disingenuous situation. If you're
no, it's not. It's
it
not.
Is too, Dan. So wait. Why is that any different? If a mother or father gets arrested and there's a kid in the back seat, do you think that the headline in Politico or the Washington Post would say 5-year-old detained after mommy gets caught?
Well, so hold on. You said two different things, which is like drinking and driving, and where people are doing things that are where you are doing something that is endangering, the public, or you blew a stop sign or whatever. What is happening with ICE is they are stopping people and then saying, like, okay, are you a U.S. citizen?
Not in this case. He was
going
after the person. Again, now you're trying to shift it. But
this is where people's hearts are starting to say, like, what did that man, why was that man stopped?
He had a warrant out for his arrest.
Yeah, they like showed up to try to pick him up. Like, they knew they were going to pick him up, right? Like, they went to find him. Mm-hmm.
Right. But okay, so take my DWI excuse and just say there's a warrant out for somebody's arrest. They pulled them over because they had an outstanding, who cares? They do the same thing with an American citizen as they did.
Correct,
there is no outrage any day of the week. In fact, you would say the child was protected from the big bad person who had the warrant out from him. Because it's an illegal, we suddenly get all, oh God, what are we doing? If that 5-year-old was rolled up and detained because their mom or dad had an outstanding warrant for who cares what, no one would be having this discussion. But because the media is all on the side of these illegals, that's the way they portray it. Now, the last thing I'll say is we've talked about the political reality of this. ICE has an image problem. Whether or not you're 100% a supporter of them, or you believe that they should be defunded and shut down. And I think that they have to recognize that. And what I mean by that is we talked about being much more sensitive about getting ahead of situations where it's like, okay, if we're going to do this, how do we actively communicate this? How do we make sure that they know what's going on? Again, you red team this thing and you go, this is what they're going to say about this stop or how we do this. I thought the other day when they went out and in the briefing room showed people, some of the folks in Minnesota that had, the criminal record that they had, do that more. Get out there. Start talking about how we're keeping the community safe from rapists and murderers and
Sean,
people that are drug dealers.
That I want to ask you about on this front, right? Because we've always said this. When it's about the bad hombres, okay, they're on good ground. But by most accounts, that's about 40, 50% of the people being detained right now. So you have that. So that would say then the other half are not, right? They're regular people. And even the administration, J.D. Vance, that I thought one of the big things he said was it was the first time I've heard anyone admit we are starting to sweep up U.S. citizens, which is a problem.
Yeah, but he said if they take a swing at a ICE,
that was the second part, because again, that goes to a better political ground for them, right? Which is if someone resists the arrests. But this problem of increasingly U.S. citizens, this is why we have rights. This is why you have, the courts have been involved, and you don't hear talk about, we're going to launch an investigation, which if I were the Republicans, I would do, to make sure U.S. citizens aren't swept up. Just get on the side of the right side of that.
Yeah. Look, I don't, that's why I'm telling you, I agree. Yeah. I'll agree with you on that, because I think that from an image standpoint, we are not a country where you walk down the street carrying your papers. And I think that we saw this the other day with that gentleman at NBC News. Like, because you have an accent or your skin isn't pale white doesn't mean that you're not here legally, and that they have to be careful. That's why I'm saying you have to be much more meticulous. And if there's a reason that that's the case, like, that they said, hey, look, we had, you think about when a crime happens and the call comes in, there was 5 individuals in a hoodie and, they were wearing a red sweatshirt. And so if you're wearing a red hoodie sweatshirt, you might get rolled up. Like, that's what the cops are going to do. They need to start thinking more strategically about, hey, if we roll somebody up, we've got to be able to explain this is why it happened, because we were going after a target. This person fit the description. That happens all the time. They just need to be a lot more sensitive than, say, average law enforcement in a day.
Speaking of being strategic and sensitive, we talked yesterday, I believe it was yesterday, maybe it was Wednesday, about, arresting some of those anti-ICE protesters that stormed the church. Sean, you said point blank, your heart is there. You think they were in the wrong and they should be arrested. But then politically, you said there could be some blowback on this. The administration not only arrested one of the leaders of that anti-ICE protest at the church, but then they released what appeared to be some sort of doctored video of the individual crying that actually wasn't real. I mean, you talk about
again, why? But that's what I'm going at. Why do that?
Well, that's what I'm saying.
They
you think they shouldn't be doing stuff like that?
No, I mean, for the Secretary of Homeland Security, and she probably undermined any case that was there. If I was the attorney, I'd say, look, they're already manipulating. I mean, that was just it was a rookie mistake. And Secretary Noem, like the idea that it went out under her account. It's why everyone in America, that barring people on the far left, looked at what happened in that church and said, that is a travesty. What happened? That's disgusting. Right. For the same reasons that Dan articulates a lot of stuff, the American people go, why are you interrupting and assaulting a pastor in the middle of a Sunday service? Right. And for us to then go out and be like, hey, we're going to doctor a photo of the organizer, like dumb.
Well, and this is the other problem with that, and this kind of segues into is immigration a liability or an asset?
Yeah, let's go to that.
Yeah, none of us would, I think, argue with the fact that this was not the first time the administration did something where it was, doctored, untrue statements, trying to create narratives that you don't need to add, right? Like the administration 5 months ago had so much momentum behind them. The public was so behind them on this issue that why they decided that they needed to keep trying to kind of fudge, add, and do all this stuff. Because I think more and more Americans, not just people who are like total TDS, are starting to kind of question what they say. And once you become the boy who cries wolf, it's hard to get it back.
You know what, though? This is like
that polling real quick.
Sure, yeah. So for those who haven't seen the New York Times yesterday, sorry, Rachel, go ahead.
No, please go
I mean, released a poll as other organizations have around the 1-year anniversary of the president. And if you're listening on the podcast, on immigration, the president is now minus 17. It is 17% more Americans disagree or disapprove than approve. And this is obviously remarkable. And it really does kind of lend the question as we head into the midterms here or into 2026, has immigration become a liability for Republicans? I can't even believe I'm saying that.
That's what I was saying. Like, this is one of the issues that got him back in the White House. Like, it's not the central issue.
But I will say, Sean, I know you jump in here, that one of the kind of counter arguments to this is you can tell Democrats are still spooked by the fact that they did not want to fight on ICE funding in the House. They ultimately, I think it was 9 House Ds voted to approve it out. It's likely going to pass the Senate, although Sean may have some reporting on that. But it is just stunning that this now may become an albatross around Republicans' necks.
But I want to just highlight this brings the point home. Do you see what the number one issue there is on that screen? The number one thing? What's the one issue that he's in the
border?
All right, his border, the handling of the border.
Okay, so
Plus
just
3.
Right. So let's just stop and recognize, because this goes to Dan's point. The border between U.S. and Mexico, the president is in the positive on this. They say he's doing a great job. Okay. But then it says on immigration, minus 17. So we love what you're doing. How you're doing it, we don't. Right. And this happens all the time, I think, especially in like business, which is everyone agrees on like the goal, like, hey, we got to go out and do this. And then you pull the employee and you go, what are you doing? And like, oh, you said that we needed to build a fence. So I ripped down 5 trees, cut them down to build the wood. And you're like, no. I said we needed to build a fence. I didn't say we had to cut down the forest. And so I think what's happening, those numbers highlight that the American people are with the president on the goal. And every time I ask a Democrat, what's the one thing you'll give President Trump credit for? Every single one, bar none, says the border. We were wrong on that, right? But then when you go to look at this second number, it's the execution of it that's killing. And these images of ICE doing things. And so to Dan's point, dial it back and do it and go, hey, our goal is to do this. This is how we're going to do it. And we're going to do it in this way. I'm 100% on the team. Yeah. But like, I want everybody that's not in the country out. I'm on that team. Yeah. But how you're creating that image of doing it matters. And it's like John, anything else in the workplace.
Do you guys think that in November, long way to go, like right now, I would think Democrats are going to run ads of the little boy and the woman, being shot and faces pushed to the ground. Sean, the only thing I can think of is Republicans are going to show the border, say the border is safe. But they are not today going to want to, in a debate, talk about Minnesota and what is happening.
Well, I think they should take their cue from JD. They're going to have to
do what Vance did, right?
I mean, like they're going to do exactly what JD Vance did.
Yeah, like I think he's sort of setting a model here for Republicans. It's like there's a bigger context to this. Will we make mistakes? Yes, and we're going to try to fix it as soon as possible. But like, there's a bigger story to these things, and like, it seems like they're going to have to do that. They can't just run away from this issue.
But that's defense. That's not.
It is, and there's that whole saying, explaining you're losing, but without addressing it.
That's my point. I mean, that is my point. They will play defense. That's the best retort they're going to have. But we'll see. Long way to go.
It's funny. I'm reading a bunch of folks in the chat that quote, "I'm worried about the media narrative." Yes, I am worried about the media narrative. In fact, I don't like. I'm not even like 100%. I'm worried about it because even the vice president, what did he say? God, when I first heard this, I said, "Oh my God, we're detaining a 5-year-old." That's the vice president of the United States. Yeah. All I'm saying is, hey guys, if that's what the vice president's waking up seeing and saying, I have all the resources, I want to find out, what do you think the average mom or dad in Montana or California or Florida is saying when they wake up and they see that on the Today Show or in the front page of the New York Times or the Tampa Bay? I mean, like, so yes, I am very worried because perception is reality. And if people perceive there's a problem, then unless we counter it, there's going to be a problem. So, for everyone who's saying in the chat, I'm worried, 100% I am. We need to maintain the majority. And I'm worried that people don't think that we're doing a good job and the president is doing a good job. And so if we don't counter it, then we're going to have a problem.
And I'll just add for those who are kind of giving Sean grief here, in my opinion, JD Vance does not do what he did yesterday. Trump did not, in that interview in Detroit, speak the way he did, unless the White House is worried. They don't shift their tone by accident or because they woke up on the different side of the bed today and decided like I'm going to speak very compassionately about this. It's because they are obsessed with data, they are obsessed with winning, and they see the same thing in private that everyone is seeing in public. And if you want to keep telling yourself all is well and everyone, it's only the Trump derangement syndrome that is against immigration, as a Democrat, I would say keep doing it, keep telling yourself that. And we will see you in November.
It's like in a campaign when people walk up and go, I didn't think that ad was persuasive or whatever. I go, were you voting for us already? And they go, yeah, I'm 100% with you. And I go, well, it wasn't meant for you.
Right.
Like you don't run ads to get people to support you more. You try to be persuasive. You're getting people who aren't with you to get on your team. And that's what sometimes people forget is that it's not, we're not trying to double down to get people who are already supporting the president to support him more. We need to make sure that we get the people who are with him who shift a little here and there.
Right. Okay, let's move on. Let's talk about Shutdown 2.0 being averted, potentially, snowstorm, depending. So last night, the House passed the remainder of its spending bills this year. The Senate is expected to do it next week, as long as they're in town and can get back to town. This pretty much assures, guys, that we are not going to have a shutdown, weather depending. And like,
here?
It's just, I mean, to me, this is just noteworthy because we, had the longest shutdown in history just a couple of months ago. It was over these Obamacare premium subsidies, which are still an issue, right? And not only that, but you have the base sort of agitating to defund ICE. And yet you had a number of Democrats who cleared that DHS bill. I mean, clearly there is not an appetite to do this again on either side.
Well, and I would say there's another part of this that's like important for people to, when they think about long term. There is a desire. People are always asking us on this show and in other places about when is bipartisanship going to return? When are people going to work together? I think after that shutdown, there was so much frustration amongst people in Congress. What's remarkable is what they call the four corners, the four appropriators, House, Senate, DR, work together in a bipartisan collegial way to put this together. They told Russ Voigt in the administration, remember DOGE cuts? They told them to go pound sand. We're not doing it. And they told people who wanted to put all the social issues on our side and the Republicans, go pound sand. We're not doing it. This is the way it used to work. And what's remarkable is with all this partisanship and immigration and Trump and like Trump derangement syndrome and everything, Congress kind of worked here. And that is fairly remarkable that they did this in a bipartisan, bicameral way. And they kind of told the White House to shove it a little bit. It's fascinating.
Two aspects on this. But before I get to that, we talked about pro-life. One of the leaders in the pro-life movement was texting as we did this. And said they expect to announce 3 bills, a bill forcing institutions to advise their students of their rights as far as a lack of discrimination based on motherhood and parenthood, no more ability for Planned Parenthood to sell fetal body parts for research, and the allowance to use TANF, which is needy families, for pregnancy care centers. So there are your 3 things that are coming out.
We'll follow him or her for messaging.
Yeah, I'm glad at least one person's watching. Okay.
Yeah. All right. 2 point. There you go. But that's, again, that tells you the quality of the people that watch every day from all sorts of sectors.
We appreciate it.
Yeah. So here's what I'd say on the shutdown. Number one, and you touched on both of them, so I don't want to, but number one, it is ironic. We had this historic shutdown over all this funding issue, and they got their one vote that went nowhere that they knew. And now business back to you. So we shut the government down for what, 47 days or something for a vote the Democrats could have had at the jump and
moved on.
No one seems to care. I mean, I just, for all the crap about what happened, again, very DC, let's just move on, forget everything. And I cannot believe that we're not even discussing the fact that like nothing changed between then and then. The second, and you touched on this, Rachel, I am a believer that like, I always try to teach this to like young people when I, was at the RNC, we had interns, whatever, like don't put off today what you can do tomorrow. So like if you got a presentation, get it ready tonight in case the copier breaks tomorrow. And what's happening right now, the House did their vote, the Senate's going to leave. And this is where I am going to be very interested. If you cut a snowflake at arts and crafts, DC will shut down. And we're expecting a historic amount of snow over this weekend. These guys are up against a deadline, and you got a bunch of geriatrics that probably don't do very well in the snow to begin with. Mm-hmm. And then you want them to all travel back to DC, potentially on roads that'll be shut down for days against the backdrop of, so I think the weather is going to be a huge factor. And these guys who barely have time to do the current job that they have are going to say, well, if only we could have, blah, blah, blah. They should have stayed in DC. They should be doing this now. But if we have a government shutdown next week because of logistics, don't let anyone tell you that it was the weather. They had a chance to do it and they failed.
Yeah, they left early.
I mean, again, this is one of those things where I can't believe how like these guys, like somehow it was like, oh, we got to get home. For what? You get paid, you ran for a job, you spend millions of dollars to get it. And then you're like, hey, I got to get home. I'm sorry. I just have no sympathy. So if the snowstorm is historic and whatever, anyone who gives you the excuse that it was the snow that prevented them from keeping the government funding is lying.
Let's talk 2028. This morning, we have another sort of perfect example of this split screen Dan often likes to talk about, the 2028 workhorses versus the show horses. This week, a lot of people have been focusing on Gavin Newsom trolling the president and in Davos.
And then talking to him.
For the left. Say that again, Dan?
And then he talked to him, and then he met with them behind stage and hung out for a while, which is just like,
look, game recognizes game.
That's it.
There you go.
Right.
But there's been a lot of focus on him. And this morning in Playbook, there was this sort of deep dive into Mark Kelly's number. So he is apparently making it rain on a bunch of Democrats as he's looking at a potential 2028 bid, using his sort of newfound role as this foil of the president and foil of Secretary of War Pete Hegseth to raise cash for the party and give it to a bunch of, candidates, committees, state parties, et cetera. $5 million, it sounds like, last year. I mean, it's funny because I think it was last year I called him my political winner. You both rolled your eyes at me and told me I was wrong. But he is clearly raising money and raising his profile based off of being, Pete Hegseth's big punching bag right now.
Yeah, no, I said the show horse workhorse because you have this Mark Kelly raising money. Mark Kelly, is all over MS Now and CNN. And I'm on all these fundraising lists. I get nonstop fundraising appeals from him on this idea of Hegseth, and he's under attack. And I find it fascinating. I'm not even sure he'd get reelected if he ran in 28, for reelection, depending on who Republicans put up against him. But he does seem to want to go and run for president. So it will be interesting. Newsom, not only did we have the Ken doll thing, he was out there yesterday online hawking knee pads signed by the president. You can take a guess what that might be.
It's just so tacky. I'm sorry.
Well, look, I mean, on the left, they love it because how many times has Trump made crude references to, Democratic politicians? Because it's a belittling, it's a weakening, it is you're small, right? And so Newsom continues to be the kind of troller in chief. Again, Kelly is also at the same time, Josh Shapiro's book comes out, and Rahm Emanuel was here this week meeting with people in Washington, D.C., and he sat down with the New Dems, who are a group of moderates in the House. I think it was Wednesday night.
So there's one person?
What's that?
Was that one person meeting?
No, that's 60 people right now is what they are, the New Dems. And so what's interesting is somebody, with the New Dems said, if you asked a New Demmer for their re-election coming up here, who do you want to come and campaign for them? They'd say Shapiro and Rahm. They do not want a person in a tough seat, does not want Gavin Newsom. They don't want Mark Kelly right now. And as you keep thinking about 2028, it's that like online world and cable news world. And then the reality of who is going to actually win swing states, put new states in play for us. And the other part of this is Gavin Newsom, for those who haven't seen it, The Atlantic, I tweeted it out yesterday, has a great deep dive into Gavin Newsom's record. And that still remains his big Achilles, which is if you argue, elect me and I'll make the rest of the country like California, there are a lot of people whose image of California right now is not good.
How much do Democratic primary voters think about who is the best person to run with a swing district candidate, who has the best electability, and who is giving to candidates? Yeah. Do they care? How much do they care about versus sticking it to Trump, Dan?
So there's two different lanes right now that you're thinking of, and Sean, jump in here. One is part of between now and let's say mid 2027 is what kind of narratives do the press start to think about for you, and how do they write about you, and how do people on cable and influencers talk about you? If people start getting in their head, you're super progressive, you're not really going to be competitive. Kamala Harris's problem, right? From day one when she got on the ticket, people were like, boy, I don't know if she can win Pennsylvania and those Midwestern states. She's Black, she's a woman. Women haven't historically done well in that part of the country. So she was fighting a narrative. J.D. Vance's narrative, hillbillyology. He's going to be strong in Appalachia, strong in the Rust Belt. Once that takes hold, you have to affirmatively break it. And that's very hard. So in the shadow primary right now, all of this stuff goes into what kind of an image do people start to form about you that then the average person who's not paying attention is fed.
Yeah. I'll say two things. One, here's my best case scenario. I'll give Mark Kelly a pass to say, I'll review file later. Like I'm not convinced that this guy has what it takes, like
Yep.
at all. And I think that what he did in Politico this morning was, I will give his team a lot of credit to not reveal your numbers, but to sell the fairy dust, to be like, hey, I gave a bunch of money to state party. Like that was like, they must have pictures on people at Playbook or something, because the idea that they gave him that much ink for nothing, like there was no, he
You don't
didn't
think the
release
$5 billion giving that to other candidates and state parties is?
But how do you not say, great, then show us your, like they refuse to actually give him, what's your total raised?
But it could also be, though, Sean, that he's looking to give that to another reporter to get another bite at the apple.
I've played this game for years. I mean, I just can't believe that they were bamboozled like that. To me, that was like, you basically bought the froth and not the milk. So I thought it was a brilliant, like, I'll give his team a lot of PR credit for that. But the idea,
we're going to come back to this when his numbers come out and see.
What did I say? I'm willing to give him a pass right now, because to me, the idea that this is somehow like we're getting sold, he gave a bunch of money to a bunch of early state committees or potential early state committees, to me is like, I would kill to sell that story. But overall, to Dan's point, look, there are two in every industry. I was going to sports as Dan was saying this, like you're obviously selling the grassroots and trying to get support, but you're also selling the quote unquote, the chattering class, the experts, the pundits, the consultant class, to say, here's how good I am. And it's like, when you go look at a sports show or something, and the color commentators are like, look, going into preseason, they have a really strong quarterback. They recruited, and they're telling you, they're trying to condition everybody that's like on a fantasy football team or something to say, this is a good team to watch. This is a good player. This is why this new coach is going to make a difference. They're conditioning the audience to tell you why someone's going to be really good or bad, right? This injury, he's overcome this or that, or what have you. And in every industry, it's the same thing. And if you turn on CNBC, they'll say like, this company's earnings report show why it's really strong, or the economy's weak because of these indicators. In politics, we have the same thing. It's the chattering class that says, look how much money they gave. Look at who they hired. Look at where, blah, blah, blah. I mean, how much they raised from hard dollars, and their low dollar giving is sustained over this many months. There's a lot of indicators that the chattering class in politics will start to condition the media with and say, this person's a champ or not, or here's why they're strong or weak. And I'll give Kelly's team credit for starting to work the refs.
Let's move to winners and losers. Who wants to start?
Dan?
Sure. I'll say my winner of the week is the congressional appropriators. I mean, we said it earlier, what they did to get a bipartisan bill through Congress in this environment, impressive.
Yeah, I mean, congratulations for getting your work done 4 months late.
Doing what you're supposed to do.
Way to go, champ.
But they haven't done it in a long time.
Well, they haven't.
I know, but it's like, talk about grading on a curve. I mean, like these guys, they have one job: fund the government. Pat us on the back. We closed the government down for a historic amount of time and then did our job 4 months later. Yay! I have two winners. So my first winner is the Army-Navy game. The President of the United States signed an executive order to sort of protect the game. There's hopefully going to be further legislative support for this. This is a really important deal for Army and Navy, and I'll save you guys my diatribe, but I'll just say this was a big deal, and I really appreciate what the president did to
Sean, am I right? I know there's the like public opinion influence he has. That EO carries no weight.
Technically, no, but it was the night before the college football organization met, and I think it sent a strong signal that I've got their back, and it will be, as far as there should be some legislation behind this. But my point was, it sent a very strong signal at a very strong time that the government's going to protect this game and what it means for recruiting and for the opportunity to honor the two services at a critical time. So that's big. My other, go ahead, Dan.
I was going to say, you want to talk about like a lobbying political smackdown? The Big Ten and SEC and those delegations against Army Navy.
Dude, listen, at some point, I have learned more about, you wouldn't believe the number of people who say, I'm all for Army and Navy, and then suddenly get a phone call from someone on SEC or Big Ten and whatever, and they're like, hey, my pen doesn't work today. This is the one issue that I think, it's funny how you wouldn't believe the politics of football. How's that? My other big winner, though, that didn't get a ton of attention is Barron Trump. Barron was on a FaceTime
I
call.
saw that.
And it was just amazing. Again, no one gives the kid the due that he should get. He FaceTimed a friend of his overseas whose ex-boyfriend was abusing her at the time. He called authorities who intervened. She went to court and said, Barron Trump saved my life. And what a fine young man that did the right thing and intervened. Didn't get the credit, but I don't think he did it for that. He did it. And this young woman is giving him credit for saving her life. So that's my winner.
What? I would love to read like a deep dive into him and his life.
It's funny, there's the Eric Trump, when he was doing his book tour, there was a lot of speculation, as you guys may recall, around the inauguration about what Barron said to Joe Biden. And everyone thought that he said, these lip readers were out there saying like he said some expletive, whatever. And Eric finally asked him, and he went up and he said something to the effect, it was just very cordial, polite, and respectful, and said, I wish you all the best in life going forward. And it was just, it really spoke to Barron's character. And it just showed you how much everyone in the media had tried to make it out to be something nefarious. And it was quite the opposite.
No, I think about, how young he was when the president was first elected.
I was
now
there.
He's like this young man and like,
yeah.
And he almost spoke recently. And it sounds like his mom was like, no, let's not get you up on the podium yet. But
and he clearly played a role in 24 when it came to the
social media folks. Alex Bruzewitz gives him a ton of credit.
Yeah. Okay. My winner, I was sort of, struggling between the Danes, which is too obvious, and NATO Secretary. Is it Rutte? Is that how you say it? Rutte. Okay, there you go.
I'm probably butchering that, just to be clear. I used to say root, and then I've heard everyone's like Rutte.
There's a little bit of a at the end or something. Like anyway,
it's like you have to be.
Let's just call him the nickname, which is the Trump Whisperer in NATO. I mean, clearly the president, showed up and he gave the speech, and in the speech at Davos, he still had a bit of an aggressive tone, even though he took, military action off the table when he was speaking. Then he has this private meeting with this guy and announces a framework. I mean,
the Greenlanders were like, he doesn't represent us.
That was one of them. I mean, look, we didn't get into this.
I know.
But when we talk about the art of the exit, it's like, all right, let's come up with a deal. Let's announce the deal that is strong, shows we won. They do it. And then 12 hours later, it's like, he didn't have any authority to make that deal. We won. Don't worry about it. Strong. We're going to do great. It's
in case you guys haven't followed, like Greenland has come out and said this notion that, the U.S. is going to get sovereignty over any pockets in Greenland to build military bases is like not a thing. No. Like they don't want to give up any sovereignty, and they're not planning to. And then they never approved of anything like this. So regardless, this guy can clearly, talk the president down. He knows how to work him with flattery. He's the one who called him daddy, right? Like NATO's daddy a couple months ago. And so anyway, and then he went out there and said, look, like, you guys may hate me because I'm praising the president right now. He said this to other European leaders, but like without him, we wouldn't be stepping up our game. He's forcing us to do this. So he's my winner of the week. Loser.
My loser is the World Health Organization. The United States pulling out of it. We did then, of course, backdoor in that announcement that we will work with them on certain things. The world's a crazy place these days, and people feel strongly about different institutions. But I think in the big picture, the World Health Organization is an organization for good that tries to prevent health epidemics and other things. And to me, it is our loss to ultimately pull out of it.
China is very disappointed that we pulled out. Now they can completely control the WHO. My loser of the week is everybody like me who wants to see TikTok eviscerated from the face of the earth because of its algorithm. There was a deal announced that will keep it in the hands, quote unquote, of US. I'm still skeptical of that. I still think the algorithm is something that we will look back on in 15, 20, 50 years and say it was a scourge upon this generation of Americans. But attempts to stop it looks like have been futile.
I was wondering what you thought of this.
I hate it. I hate it.
You hate TikTok.
I think it's not just, TikTok's at the number one on the list. And then Meta and Facebook are a close second in terms of what they're doing to destroy this generation of Americans.
Keep an eye on some of these pushes to ban social media for kids under 16.
I think that, Dan,
high school.
This to me, if I will say this again, if you're a Republican or a Democrat running for anything right now, if you make banning social media, it is the new Mahas, like kind of moms, parents, you will win people over. Every place that they've banned has ended up doing much better. Every scientific story is much better. I mean, like, I don't know why there's not more bipartisan support to make this an issue.
And you know what? You push JD closer to the sun with the tech barons. It's a win-win. Yep.
Yeah. My loser of the week is Lori Chavez de Reamer. So she's been under investigation, the labor secretary, for her personal. There's allegations of personal misconduct at the Labor Department. She had to get rid of 2 aides this week who were suspended. There's been accusations about inappropriate relationships with underling, drinking in the office. Apparently, the inspector general, again.
Well, you can't drink in the office now.
I mean, a lot of people do that, to be fair, but I think the Trump administration, the president himself, on Capitol Hill, are you kidding, Dan?
No, I know, but that's what's so like amazing is outside of Washington, you would be, companies have liability issues, everything. But the fact that in DC, there are still pockets, particularly on Capitol Hill, where people drink in the office, and your reaction was like, yeah, but it still happens in DC, is amazing. It's amazing.
I'm not saying it happens like during the, well, actually, I see it happen during
one of my favorite
talk to a lawmaker who smells like booze at
one of my favorite books ever. Bob Novak had this autobiography. And like, it's like that thick, right? But like every story would be like, he would go through all the stories that he did. And he'd be, so I'm working on the story. And then we would go to the Monocle and have 18 drinks. And then I'd come back to my office. I'd finish the column and we'd go downstairs. Oh my God, what's the name of the place right on? Oh my God. I literally, the Exchange. Yeah. And he would go, then we go down to the Exchange and have 4 more martinis. Then on the way home, I would stop at, and like, that was like the daily cycle.
Yeah. But here's the difference. I mean, President Trump doesn't drink, and there was a notice, a warning sent out to at least staff that like, you don't drink on the job. Like, you don't do stuff like this. Like early on in the administration, I remember reading about this. Like, he doesn't have tolerance for this stuff. So I am curious, Sean, like what you think of this, because
but hold on. He does he have tolerance? Because anytime one of the accusations is that she took people to a strip club.
That's what I didn't get.
Anytime you have a strip club and a cabinet secretary, it's usually not
on an official trip.
Alleged, yes.
Alleged. By the way, she's denying all this. But Sean, does the president care about this stuff? This kind of stuff?
I don't think that like it again, it's not like she was spending. No, is the answer. I don't think like at this level he cares about it. It's if it got worse, like if again going, I think that it's like sort of TBD. Like if it gets worse or if there's some further allegations. I mean, but I'm just saying that like, look, I will just.
It's a high bar for him. Yeah,
we've had some dealings on this kind of stuff before. How's that?
Somebody in the admin once said to me, we're the Hotel California, like nobody ever leaves. Like it doesn't matter what you do, Okay, let's take some questions. We'll keep it tight.
What we're looking for?
Pardon?
I thought we were going to talk about what we're looking for.
Oh.
But all right.
Why don't we do
let's take the questions.
All right. Yes, we only got a few more minutes left. Okay, so here's a question from X. Which Senate seat is more likely to flip in 2026, Georgia or Maine? Georgia, which would be blue to red, Maine, which would be red to blue. Go ahead.
Yeah, I would have said Georgia, 4 months ago, but the Republicans have seemed a little bit of a mess there. Ossoff is really strong. For those who didn't see it, Janet Mills came out really strongly against ICE yesterday. We talked about what she would do. I think neither may flip. But I guess if I had to say, I'm going to say Maine.
I'm with Dan on this. I think it's a push right now. We don't have a nominee in Georgia yet, so that will make a difference. Like, can they raise money? Ossoff's got a ton of cash. But I would say it's probably a push depending on who our nominee is. And if it's strong, then I would go Georgia.
Yeah. I feel like Susan Collins is just a workhorse and like she's going to do whatever she needs to do to win there. And how many times have we predicted that she can't win that state? And yet every time she sort of succeeds. I mean, maybe this is the year that it's different, but it's hard for me to see her getting ousted. So let's take another. Okay, question for Sean Spicer. Minus the last two administrations, who was the most effective or best White House press secretary of all time, and who was the worst?
Okay, so that means no. Oh, I forgot. No Biden. Okay, so I was trying. I actually forgot that Biden was president, and I was going Obama. So that means no Trump.
Minus the last two
So
administrations.
that was
Yeah, I mean, I
actually
think
it
it's
was,
like pre-Trump, I think is what.
yeah. I was gonna. I assume that was pre-Trump, because I'm just trying to think. Biden. Biden actually, Obama actually good. Okay, I'll go back to Bush, and I'll give you both there. I think Ari Fleischer post 9/11 was amazing. Ari gave a nation that was very concerned about and very nervous about their safety and what was happening, and he projected a very that's in those moments of crisis. That's where you earn your bona fides, and Ari was a voice of calm and reason at a very critical time. In the same administration, Scott McClellan, I think, really did not reflect well on the president. So, again, someone saying Sarah Huckabee Sanders, it's not a question. If the question is pre-Trump, so
Trump, yeah.
I'll give you one too. I know you're not asking me, but it's in the Bush administration. Tony Snow. I thought both parties liked him. He didn't, he was of the press. He had come from Fox News. He had a very self-deprecating personality. He's passed away from cancer. God rest his soul. But Sean, I don't know your thoughts. My sense.
I got along with. I got along great with Tony. He was. I mean, not just got along. I mean, like Tony was just kind to me.
Yeah.
As like all the previous. I mean, like the press secretaries. It's a small little club, but I think the difference to your point is that you can be good. And it's, I just don't think there was like a moment. Tony obviously got sick very early. He was a great press secretary. Dana was a great press secretary. But the question is, like, who do you admire? Like, Ari got tested because those moments when the nation is looking at you and saying, what's going on? And it's because sometimes the press secretary doesn't have access to information or whatever. He projected a level of maturity, confidence, calm at a critical time. Very few press secretaries have that moment. So it's not fair to judge everyone equally, but that's why I choose Ari, not because anyone didn't do a great job or wasn't good people. It's just you don't generally get tested like that. I wasn't. There was no moment where it's like the world,
Just a quick side question: do you guys think Caroline Leavitt runs for office?
No,
I know she has before. Before, and she really sort of sharpened her political credentials in that race. There's a really great Adam Rem deep dive into her campaign, which went from totally not possible to win the primary to winning the primary. And obviously she lost the general, but I mean, her profile and the way she has sort of performed as press secretary makes me think she could have a political life after the White House. What do you think?
I've asked her point blank and she has said no.
Interesting.
Look, she's 28, 29. So
she's so young. Yeah.
Could she at 40 or 50 change her mind in the future? Sure. But I will tell you that the one thing about running for office is one, you can never convince somebody to do it. She's going to have a very, very lucrative lifestyle potential. Like she could write books, she could go on TV, she could, million things.
Yeah.
And so to say, do you want to give all that up to be one of whatever 435 or one of 100 or whatever? I just go, I don't know that I would want to do it. Who knows though? There's a difference. Can she? Yes. Will she? I don't think so.
She's also been so close to the power center that even being a lawmaker would seem like,
I think she doesn't do it right. I think she doesn't do it right away for the reason Sean said. And she may, perhaps her family's growing. Perhaps they want more and she wants to spend time with her. But I think if you run once, it says to me, it's in the blood a little that you would like elected office. Governor, look, if she got elected governor of New Hampshire, she will be an instant vice presidential, if not presidential candidate, given her star power. I mean, the Trump brand could be, sullen in 10 years, but give it 10 or 15 years.
Yeah, I mean, that's why I the one thing I'll agree with you is, like I said, I think there's a big difference right now.
Yeah,
and in 10 or 15 years saying, hey, I want to do this. And who knows what office, but
Yeah.
I just think going through the grind to me, and she's done it, so she knows what it would take. And when I asked her, she said, "No, I've done it."
Interesting to watch. Okay, let's do one last question. Will Donald
Ooh.
Trump take action on Iran?
Yes.
Yes, because Israel is going to, and we will assist.
I'm going to say yes, just because they're both saying yes. I don't actually know. I mean, he did draw a line on this, right? So, like,
I think it goes to the bigger issue. Israel does not think. Israel is concerned that the ballistic missile program and the nuclear capability is resuming way faster than thought. And that is what I think they are going to end up going back in for.
All right, that was actually quick. We can do maybe one more. Do we have one more?
Well, no, it's 9:35. Yeah, it's
okay. All right, well, then we'll wrap. Sean, what are you flagging for today?
This is going to be a humdinger. Roger Stone is on the show tonight. Roger's got a new book coming out, and I won't get the whole thing, but the name of the book is called Bushwhacked. And he's never talked about it before. And I'm going to talk about it with him tonight. Let's just say it's about the Reagan assassination, and you can read into the title what you wish.
wow.
And then obviously we're going to get into everything else in the world. And Dan, you'll appreciate this. One of the things that Roger has always done in the last 17 years is put out a list of best dressed, best worst. And I'm going to ask him before we get off air, like, what style tips should men just not engage in ever? Like, not.
He's a very snazzy dresser, I believe.
Oh, yeah.
He's a very
he's a big Paul Short fan, I believe. Yep.
But he is very snazzy, very fashionable guy, and his list is actually really cool to see at the end of every year, because he talks like it's bipartisan. He gives kudos, and he, on both sides. But I'm going to tell you this right now, like I watch a bunch of these Instagram accounts that are like, don't ever do this or do this, and so I decided I'm going to put it to him, and I want to get his take on this.
All right, I like that.
Reminder, guys, if you're a premium member, we've got the Zoom right after. So, Sean, we'll see you there. And otherwise, we will see you at 8:30 on Monday. We're all going to be snowed in. I just hope I have electricity. But we'll figure it out.
Maybe we'll just do like a 3-hour huddle on Monday. Nothing else to do. So, all right.
Thanks, guys.
Oh, I guess not. Okay. All right.
Yeah.